the indelible ink on your finger at the time you go out to vote to the nation's first parallel supercomputer. The Council for Scientific and Industrial Research has been part of our lives, improving it and, of course, contributing to the nation's progress since 1942. 26th of September marks the beginning of its Platinum Jubilee year. And while that is an occasion to celebrate, it also gives time to pause and look back at all the landmarks, all the achievements, and also to the future. And to talk about all that, we have Dr. Girish Sahani with us. He's DG CSIR. So welcome to the show. And first up, it is a huge congratulations to you. It is a big occasion, quite a few landmarks, and an occasion to celebrate, isn't it?
Thank you. Very much so. We have come a long way. When CSR started out, it has a history which is older than that of independent India. 75 years of very significant contributions to the national cause. And this is one organization which India should be proud of. It has reinvented itself to all the challenges as they came. In the first 2 decades after independence, several decades later, there was a time when import substitution was a great challenge. We did not have the money and the resources to import things, which was a great boon because we had to go towards self-sustenance. Our industry was being sustained. We had public sector units. In all those formative years, CSR contributed immensely to the establishment and fulmination of Indian industry, whether it was major industry or whether it was cottage industry or it was small little things or it was strategic initiatives. So CSR has a very respectable history to be proud of, and I, as the first servant of this organization today, feel very proud and extremely hopeful of the future because the past has been glorious and the future will be still more glorious.
And now you look back, what are the base contributions you think that the CSIR has made towards first to society and then, of course, to science?
See, the contributions in technology to society are rooted in good science. We had world-class scientists even before we became independent. Meghnad Shah, P.C. Roy, Ramanujan, these are names that come to mind, and then C.V. Raman later on, Nobel laureate. So India had a very strong modern established culture of science, but it had not yet disseminated into the very roots of the country. So after independence, when higher science was given such a big boost, universities were set up. Our first Prime Minister established the temples of modern India, the R&D centers. The first few most important and very distinguished centers of R&D were CSR institutes. Apart from the TIFR and the several other institutes, the Indian Institute of Science, which have done India so proud, CSR also now today has about 37 labs, great institutions spread all over the country, ranging from astronomy to agriculture to biotechnology to metallurgy. You name the science, there is an institute. So these services, these technological innovations that we talk about in CSR, right from inception, were based upon solid science. India can be justifiably proud that CSR today is one of the only Indian institution to be part of the first 100 SciMago world-class R&D institutes. And of all the institutes in the world, several thousands, which are publicly supported, CSR has been ranked as at number 12 throughout the world, which is a great achievement. Now this scientific achievement has, as in the past, need to be translated into societal goods and societal accomplishments and societal help. That is the challenge that we face today.
But talking of challenges, I'm sure this entire journey must have been full of challenges. But where do you think you got the most help, from the government and then, of course, from the larger scientific community in the entire world? Of course, other countries too that have been at the forefront of S&T.
A lot of our S&T actually has sprung from within the country, our own capabilities. Contrast can be made of some other...
Not much help from outside.
International interaction certainly, but it is not transplanted science. It is indigenous science. And this is something that we have to be proud of. And whether you take biotechnology, you take great achievements in biology, chemistry, all these are homegrown. But at the same time, we were not cloistered or unconnected. India has always been connected, and in the present time, we need to be more connected.
If you look back again, what do you think have been watershed moments, particularly when the going was really tough and yet challenges were surmounted?
One of the challenges that CSR took up and successfully surmounted and rose to the occasion in the service of the nation was the help and the contributions of CSR to the pharma industry of today. India happens to be part of the top 3 or 4 countries in terms of the strength and the quantity of outcomes of the pharmaceutical industry. We are number 1 in the whole world in terms of generic industry. You know, when drugs go off patent, then you have economical processes to make the same drugs so that it becomes affordable medicines. India is now today counted as the leader in this area in the whole world. And this capability came in great measure, predominantly large measure, from CSR laboratories.
Despite all the litigation that was involved, people raising objections as to what you're doing, why are you selling these drugs cheaper?
See, in the 1970s, the Indian Patent Act came into force that allowed us to make copies of internationally important drugs without infringing patents in the country, process patents. And CSR labs, the labs with deep and strong roots in chemistry, formulated processes for the production of drugs. Virtually all the drugs that you see in the market today, produced in huge affordable quantities by Indian companies, came out of CSR labs.
Now, improving lives has always been at the core of any science, apart from solving the mysteries that are there in everyday life, occurrences, and making fantasies come true as well. But how has CSI pursued these interests, particularly in the interest of the country?
One hallmark of CSR labs, as also many other national labs, is the unfettered encouragement individual scientists get to pursue their science. That is at the core of scientific activity, as opposed to, say, an industry. In industry, a decision is made, everybody focuses on it, ultimately leads to assembly line and mass production of goods. In a scientific laboratory, you want to explore some basic questions, many times curiosity driven. Sometimes they may not lead to technological solutions. They may lead to insights and capabilities and freshening of the minds. The minds have to be fresh. The best minds will produce science and the best minds will produce technology. Now, if you can induce the best minds, the best scientists to go to technological solutions, that is the best answer. But now, in the present day, CSR is deeply looking inwards to see that how its scientific capabilities, which are formidable, in all these areas that we talked about at the beginning, are actually put to deliverable technological solutions for various strata of our society, particularly the poorest of the poor.
Solving the problems. That's been a thrust for Prime Minister Modi as well, and he's the president of CSIR.
That's right.
Now, the CSIR already has an impressive track record over there, but what about the future?
This is where the future is. The best science for useful solutions to everyday problems, whether it is the strategic sector, whether it is healthcare, whether it's clean water, whether it's renewable energy. You talk of an area, and we scientists as a community and the scientists of CSR have to create that magic mix by which we are able to join hands with industry. Doesn't necessarily mean big industry, it could be small industry, utilize all the capabilities and the platform strength of government, NGOs, and create a synergistic ecosystem where science leads to products, to services which come in useful for the common man.
Could you give some examples as to what is in the pipeline that could be of service to society in the coming, say, 3 years?
About 4 months ago, we had a CSR society meeting, which was presided over by the Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi ji, and he gave unambiguous, clear-cut, illuminating direction, which was not very different from the original mandate of the CSR, but the focus and energy that he put into the message has galvanized the whole organization to actually plan, transform itself, and deliver. As a first measure, what we did was, we looked inwards, we did some introspection, and came up with about 100 projects, 100 projects, which will deliver results, whether they are technological results or they are services or devices or new chemicals or new drugs, which will be actually solving 100 problems of society. Within the last 4 or 5 months now, with that exercise, we have already launched 90 of these projects and started funding them. And
90
these
have already
90
been
have
launched.
already been launched.
Could you give some examples?
Now, for example, there are millions of people who are visually challenged in this country. They cannot see. There are many other millions who cannot read. They are illiterate. We are working on an affordable device that will allow some of these people, unfortunate people, but our countrymen and our brothers and sisters, who will be able to read. You take this device in a handheld device, put it across a newspaper, and it will speak to you the whole page. Now, these kind of technologies are available, but they are very expensive. These kind of technologies are available internationally, but they will cost several lakh rupees per device, or maybe several thousands. We want to deliver technology which is affordable and which is accessible. So this is one project, for example.
So instead of lakhs and thousands, it might be in hundreds.
That's right. For example, I personally was fortunate to be associated with a project when I was a director as a scientist in a small laboratory of CSIR in Chandigarh, the Institute of Microbial Technology, where we developed India's first clotbusters. Clotbusters are biological medicines which are given at the time of heart attack or a stroke to dissolve the clots which occludes the blood supply to the heart or the brain. Now these were all imported and they cost several thousands, 5,000 to 7,000 rupees per vial, and there was a upper end clotbuster which cost about 50,000 rupees per vial. Our lab in CSIR, we developed India's first clotbuster, joined hands with Cadila Pharma, an Ahmedabad company, and delivered within 2 years after the transfer of the technology, India's first clotbuster. Then we made a recombinant version of it, so that the prices came down to almost 1/3 to 1/4 of the original prices. The socio-economic impact which has been done, which has been calculated, is worth nearly 20,000 crores to the people of this country, the contribution. Now 20,000 crore is equivalent to the total budget of CSR in 30 years. So the impact that technology can make is not necessarily in the profit it brings to the entrepreneur, which is certainly one of those, but the societal benefit it brings about. A drug saves lives, so many working hours, so many people dependent on the breadwinner, and so the socio-economic impact analysis, once it is done for technologies, actually makes you full of hope and full of optimism that this is the job Indian scientists are doing.
And another product that every household could be interested in is that handheld adulterant detector in milk.
Absolutely. So we are working on it. Multi-task compatible device was launched about 2 years ago. 4 industries have actually licensed it and taking it forward. It's a bigger device, a table device, which actually spots adulteration in milk. Something like 15 adulterants it can spot within seconds. There is no such device of this type in the world. If the devices are available, they are of limited range and they cost several lakh rupees. This will cost about 60,000 rupees when mass produced. Now we are working on a handheld version, and then we are working on a housewife version, so that you can actually, in a few thousand years, you can keep at home and you can check the milk supply that you get. Your children become safe.
And this will happen in how much time?
This will happen in the next 1 year.
Next 1 year itself.
Next 1 year.
Sounds great. We'll talk about what is CSIR doing for the country, for society in general, a little bit further. We're taking a short break at this point. Stay tuned to Candid Conversation.
ये साइड से थोड़े छोटे कर दे जल्दी।
ये वाला सर?
क्या ये?
सर ये साइड से?
नहीं
नोज पियर्सिंग यहाँ पे
परफेक्ट हो जाएगा मैम।
बिल्कुल दर्द नहीं होगा, पता भी नहीं चलेगा आपको।
कुछ ऐसा ही करते हैं आप अपने गियरलेस स्कूटर के साथ। गियरलेस स्कूटर में कोई भी 40 ऑयल नहीं, सिर्फ सर्वो स्कूटोमैटिक 4ST ही डालिए। इसके फ्रिक्शन मॉडिफायर्स इंजन की परफॉर्मेंस बढ़ाए और आपकी राइड स्मूदर बनाए। सर्वो स्कूटोमैटिक 4ST।
क्यों घबरा गए जनाब? चोरी तो चोरी है, कुछ न छुपाओ, सब इनकम दिखाओ। इनकम डिक्लेरेशन स्कीम का फायदा उठाओ। कुल 45% टैक्स भरने से मिलेगी राहत इंक्वायरी, स्क्रूटनी और प्रोसिक्यूशन से। तो अब समय न गवाएं, अपनी अघोषित आय को 30 सितंबर 2016 तक डिक्लेयर करें। आप करें योगदान, बढ़ाएं अपना सम्मान।
वादा किया था मैंने वादा किया था।
वादा किया था मैंने।
सुरक्षा जो मिले माँ के दूध और तन की गर्मी से पहले घंटे में, देर की तो बच्चे की जान को हो सकता है लगभग 1.5 गुना ज्यादा खतरा।
तुझसे वादा रहा पहले घंटे की सुरक्षा का।
गवाह कौन?
ये गवाह जी, पूरा किया ना मैंने वादा।
क्यों घबरा गए जनाब? चोरी तो चोरी है, कुछ न छुपाओ, सब इनकम दिखाओ। इनकम डिक्लेरेशन स्कीम का फायदा उठाओ। कुल 45% टैक्स भरने से मिलेगी राहत इंक्वायरी, स्क्रूटनी और प्रोसिक्यूशन से। तो अब समय न गवाएं, अपनी अघोषित आय को 30 सितंबर 2016 तक डिक्लेयर करें। आप करें योगदान, बढ़ाएं अपना सम्मान।
गुड मॉर्निंग।
अरे तुम्हारे चेहरे पर ये दाने कैसे?
रात मैंने मुहासू वाली क्रीम लगाई थी जो आप लाए थे।
लाना जरा वो क्रीम।
ये लीजिए।
ओह गॉड, दुकानदार ने तो मुझे एक्सपायरी डेट वाली क्रीम दे दी है।
क्या अब हम कुछ नहीं कर सकते?
क्यों नहीं कर सकते? बिल है ना मेरे पास। जी हाँ, आप दुकानदार की शिकायत कंज्यूमर फोरम में करें। जागो ग्राहक जागो। उपभोक्ता मामले विभाग, भारत सरकार एवं एसोचैम द्वारा जनहित में जारी।
रोशनी का सिर्फ एक ही नाम, सूर्य LED। खर्चा कम, चले ज्यादा, घर घर रोशनी का वादा।
Welcome back. You're with Candid Conversation, and we're in conversation with Dr. Girish Sahani, DG CSIR. It's their Platinum Jubilee year that's coming up very soon, and we're finding out what the CSIR has done for the society and what all has it planned for the future as well. Could you tell us, in terms of future plans in boosting economic activity in the country? That's a big focus right now for a country which is a large economy and is growing at a very fast pace, the largest, fastest growing economy in the world right now. So what is your focus as far as...
I'll give you two examples. Present government has launched flagship programs,
Yes.
which have galvanized not only policymakers but all sections of society, including industry, academia, etc.
Make in India,
Make in
Start
India, Swachh Bharat, etc. These are really focal programs that require concerted action for deliverables. Now, I'll give you two examples from CSR. One is skill development. Now, each CSR lab has a certain capability which is very unique. Look at National Institute of National Institute of Oceanography in Goa. It is this flagship institute for ocean research, whether it is marine biology, or whether it's looking at underwater structures, or paleontology, or looking at uncharted waters, etc., looking at fishing out minerals from the sea, looking at gas hydrates in the ocean bed, etc., etc. Now, these skills, whether it is NIO or metallurgy or fermentation, or for that matter analytical chemistry or pharmaceutical sciences, all these skills we have decided will be open to the public, especially the young people, for employment generation through nearly 100 skill development diplomas and programs.
Okay.
We are launching in a couple of days about 30 such programs, and these will range from 6 monthly diplomas to 2-year diplomas at various levels. So they could be upper end sophisticated diplomas, or they could be reasonably less high tech but very, very relevant diplomas. Say for example, catering to leather industry. You could have a person working in this industry who will want to come, upgrade his or her skill and start working with green technology. You could have people learning how pharma products can be analyzed, etc. You could have people learning how Ayurvedic products can be standardized.
Okay.
So this program will bring a lot of hope, and hopefully in the next few years will become a solid leading program in skill development, which will occupy a special space, because IIT, IIT caters to upper end engineering, and you have ITIs.
But CSR has plans and makes contributions in high-tech human resource development as well.
That's right, human resource. And for example, a program on patents, for example, how to defend patents, how to write patents. So these programs, some of these have been launched, 2 or 3 have been launched in the past. And then another program, for example, our farmers, they're dependent on either Kharif or Rabi for the standard food crops. Now between the crops, if you give them something which will boost their income, say an aromatic plant or an Ayurvedic variety, whether it is a mint plant or ashwagandha or tulsi, straight away cash crop. and it helps the economy also, because the value addition comes from the pharma industry, from the Ayurvedic industry, and the farmer can sell it. So these kind of programs have already been launched, and in fact this will be one of the major thrust areas via mission that we are starting in on the first day of the 75th foundation year, which will focus on aromatic and Ayurvedic plants.
And this is what will help in doubling farmers' income by 2022. That's a goal that's been identified.
So it will directly plug into the dreams of our Prime Minister.
And in terms of, again, with the industry and ensuring that we have the maximum number of entrepreneurs coming up, what are the plans in that department?
This is another area where CSR has very ambitious goals and dreams, and we have already begun planning on that level. We will transform every lab into a platform for entrepreneurship, because for successful entrepreneurship and converting science into technology and into marketable products, you need close linkage between the scientists who develop it or scientists who can nurture and mentor the technology that an entrepreneur brings, whether it is in terms of value addition, testing, calibrating, standardizing, or helping them do the business aspect. The incubation that a CSR lab can provide will be unparalleled, because much of the talent already exists.
The other, of course, need is strategic. We want to be self-reliant in defending ourselves, and CSIR has plans for that too.
CSIR has always been part of the strategic sector R&D. We cooperate with the DRDO, we have extensively cooperated with the ISRO and other national
But why
agencies.
is it that we're still the highest importer of defense equipment, armaments?
This is something that needs to be looked at a different level. What I certainly can say is that amongst the successful stories of the country, like the Tejas, LCA, and many other things besides, CSR's contribution has been tremendous, not always publicly acknowledged, because we are a part of the team, but an extremely important part of the teamwork that goes into such projects. For example, in the LCA, the light combat aircraft, the composite material was almost completely contributed by our National Aeronautical Laboratory. Whether it is a missile, or whether it's a plane, or it's a microplane, most of the testing, almost all of the testing for its aerodynamics is done in the wind tunnel present in National Aeronautical Laboratories. And this is very sophisticated work. And if you have to do it outside, it will not only cost more, it's not always easy to do that. So this is just one example where CSR has been contributing relentlessly, and we will continue to be a part, and we are a part of all the strategic initiatives of our agencies.
CSIR has a huge, massive ambit, and a lot of activities keep going on in different labs. There are about 37, 38 of them countrywide. How do you make sure that you keep track of everything that is going on, and that the industry is also aware, so that they can lap up whatever is ready to be taken to the masses? Is there a mechanism to do that?
The mechanism is there, but I think we need to improve it. And the present government and our president has emphasized in his message that a platform should be created where an outsider or in an insider, whether it's a scientist who wants to collaborate or take a project forward, or an outside entrepreneur or industry can at one glance see what all technologies are available. And we are building a portal on that, and I think generally the science and technology departments are working closely together to build a portal, an electronic portal.
How soon could it happen?
It could be a matter of months before it is done, and even as we speak, work is going on developing it.
The other thing, of course, is that since CSR is at the frontier of scientific and technology development, it has a world standing, and it's a hugely competitive world as far as S&T goes, all technology goes, and people try and appropriate your intellectual property, your traditional knowledge. Is there something to ensure that that doesn't happen? Is there worldwide monitoring as well as to what is happening in the space, so that nothing is misappropriated?
CSR has been in the forefront of intellectual property revolution in the country. Even today, CSR is the #1 patent holder, and fresh patent registrar is #1 in the country. Early on, CSR had developed a system to protect our traditional knowledge, because that is where potential piracy can happen. You have the Chinese traditional medicine, traditional knowledge, and you have the Indian and the Unani, etc. And we have a whole department that has been set up in the last 15 years or so, which looks at it very actively and keeps a watch on possible exploitation of our knowledge, but it also is looking forward to making it useful for Indian industry particularly, so that the traditional knowledge does not remain only a vehicle for preventing others to do it, but also becomes a platform for new discoveries, new drugs and new formulations.
And the other thing, of course, is in terms of the kind of work that CSIR does, it depends a lot on help from the government in especially funding. The other school of thought is that CSIR should be self-sustaining. Where do you weigh in on this matter?
I think again it has to be a mixture, because there are multiple activities. Academic activities, blue sky research, curiosity driven research has generally been throughout the country, throughout all nations, sustained usually by the government sector. And it should be done.
Because it's not market driven.
It's not market driven. Then you can have high-end technologies that can be given to high-end industries, whether international or national, where a buck can be made, money can be made. And we have been doing that. But our mandate today, as in the past, is to create societal wealth. Suppose you have to produce...
But the argument is that the more money you make, the more money you'll have for R&D, because you won't make profits.
That's
There'll
right.
be no profit, no loss.
That's right. So the golden mean is what we aim for. Let's say about 30 to 40% self-sustained money. Our budget becomes 30 to 40% self-sustained, and we make the money. But the wealth that we create does not always translate into money. It translates into societal benefits. I gave you an example of the drug that we made, the clotbuster. Now the total money that either the company, the industry made or we made would be not more than a few crores. But the value to society is thousands of crores. So we have to factor in, with an organization like CSIR, we have to factor in the inputs and outcomes, but the outcomes are not sheer green bills. They are also societal wealth and societal value.
And the same goes for the scientists, because a lot of people say that, if a CSIR scientist who's, devised this drug, or if he'd been working for a foreign pharma company, he would have been making millions. That is not the goal, is it?
No, that's not the goal, but it's one of the goals. In this world where we live, it's a competitive world. When a scientist demonstrates or achieves earning for the organization through a sale of a technology, then it gives pride and strength to the whole community. Similarly, when you publish in Nature or in some of the best journals, you feel proud. Similarly, when one of your products goes and helps villagers or brings affordable drugs, then you feel proud.
That's a different reward.
That's right. So there are three different kinds of fruit.
And let's hope that you find the perfect balance for the scientists, for society, and keep doing good work for the country. Thanks a lot for joining us this evening. All the best.
Pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.